There is a woman and her dog that are missing from Washington. We're going to go over that right now. So I've been spending most of the morning going over this case of Laynee Westbrook. She's 41 years old and she's missing from Anacortes, Washington. And it could be Anacortes, Washington. I'm sure you guys will correct me on that. But she went missing in September, around September 10th of 2020. Now, there hasn't been too much media coverage on this case. Mostly the family is saying because she is in her 40s and she could go wherever she wants to go and there's no sign of foul play. And so they're doing everything they can to get the word out, and I'm going to be helping them by going over this story, making you aware that Laynee is missing, and you can pass on this information. See, we can't locate her. So let me go do the backstory on this case. So the family said that they called the police to do a welfare check on Laynee. She had not been heard from. She's in contact with her family all the time, and they hadn't heard from her, and they asked them to go over and do a check. Now, they didn't locate her, and this was on September 10th that her mom told authorities that that was the last time that she had seen her and been communicating with her. Now, what was also missing is her little dog named Precious. She goes everywhere with Precious. He's a little rat terrier dog, white and black, and you'll see a photograph here. They go everywhere together, and he is missing too, and they don't understand where either one of them might be. Now, I kind of have a little bit of a timeline of the events that happened, so let me go over that. There was a few people that she was known to communicate with, a boyfriend, an ex-boyfriend, and some other friends. So I'm going to go over that for you too. So according to the police, Laynee was seen on video surveillance leaving the San Juan motel in a white truck. Now this was around 7:15 on September 10th. All right. And you go forward, and she is then seen again at the Swinomish Chevron gas station with this friend, and they're picking up groceries. That was right afterwards, right after the sighting over there at the San Juan motel. So I did a map. I was kind of curious how long it took to go from the motel over to that Chevron, which is right next to the casino. And it shows it to be about, in a car, to be about 17 minutes to get there. So we'll say about 20 minutes to go from one place to the other. All right, now, a person posted that they had a video that showed her at Steinman's Grocery, and she was there around 2:50 p.m. on September 10th. Now, Steinman's Grocery is right next to the motel. She could walk over there, and they said that, quote, she was alone, well, they mean alone. She was alone with her dog and appears to have walked here. All right? So that was before that evening when she was picked up by the truck. So, as I said, she must have walked over to Steinman's from the motel. And it wasn't until in the early evening, probably went back, it wasn't until the early evening she was picked up around 7 p.m. and taken over to the Chevron by her friend that was next to the casino. Now, the friend says he dropped her off between 2 and 3 a.m. on September 11th. So we don't know what has happened to her. Now, if he dropped her off between 2 and 3 on September 11th, did she go back out again? It doesn't seem likely. Did she go back to the whole motel? I would think that was probably what she did. And maybe somebody was at the motel. Maybe she ran into somebody outside the motel. Maybe she ran into somebody she knew and she went off with them and this person doesn't know it. So I went and I was looking at the ex-boyfriend whose name is Mike, and he posted up on his Facebook page. There's a lot of social media conversations about this. He put, love her, on the picture. He goes, love her very much, gonna miss her, no woman, no cry. All right, now that comes from an old Bob Marley song, and that was posted on September 10th. And it sounds a little suspicious, but we also know that he left to go to Alaska. He had work to do, and he left. And he actually posted on social media, and he provided a photo of the text message between him and Laynee that went, they communicated back and forth to each other saying, I love you, I love you. And then Mike says, I'm getting ready to board. And then she says, I love you, call me when you land, my phone will be by my head. Now, with that statement, I would think that she was going to be home. She expected to be home and likely in bed, and that's why she'd have the phone near her, so she'd hear it ringing. And she expected him to be there in the evening, and she probably expecting for the phone to wake her up and she would answer it. All right. So then I went and I looked to see how long does it take to go from Washington to Alaska. And it takes about, the shortest trip is around 3 hours, and the longest is almost 5. So if you look at that, you go 3 hours, he would, if he left, it shows that he says he's boarding, and that was be at 2:59 he was boarding on September 10th. And then Laynee was seen at Steinman's at 2:50. So it would seem that maybe when she was in the grocery store, she was text messaging Mike at that time. I think if you go and look at the video at Steinman's, they might be able to see her on the phone talking to him, or actually text messaging him on the phone. So I did the math and I go, well, let's see, if that was around 2:59, let's say 3 o'clock, he would get to Alaska at the earliest around 6, and they take time to get off the plane and go to your destination. It'd be about 7 o'clock. That's kind of early for somebody to be in bed, but I didn't know what her plans were. But also, she was seen over at that Chevron at 7 p.m. So although she told him that that she'd have the phone by her head, as I said, would imply to me she had been in bed. At 7 o'clock, she was actually at the Chevron. So either this was a last minute thing that came up that she didn't know was going to come up, that she was going to be leaving with this person in a white truck and going down the Chevron. Don't know at this point in time. But let's push it back a little bit more. Let's say that it took longer to get Alaska. We had the longest flight. So now you're looking at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 o'clock they got there, all right? So they get there at 8 o'clock. By the time they get their destination, maybe it's 9 o'clock. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Laynee thought that she would be going down with a friend, down to the Chevron station, getting groceries, whatever they're doing, hanging out. And then they would be dropped off, and then she'd be there to get his phone call around 9 o'clock. But if you remember, she wasn't dropped off till between 2 and 3 a.m. Well, regardless, if she meant for him to call that when he landed, then there must be more text messages or at least a phone call on Mike's phone of them communicating, because that's exactly what she said, call me when you land. And if he did that, there'd be more communication. I don't think this was the last communication they had. You'd think there'd be something else. I would be asking that, because then we can narrow this timeline down. Because if he was supposed to be there at 6, or if he was supposed to be there at 9, and he said he was going to call her, and he tried and she never answered, then we can really narrow this timeline down to when she went missing. And if she never answered and she was, you know, I think they can figure this out and narrow it down so we can try to think of what happened to her. Now, although Mike is claiming to be Laynee's boyfriend, there was also another guy that's been posted and said that he's the boyfriend, and his name is Sean. So this was all very confusing. We got two boyfriends speaking up, wondering what happened to Laynee and everything. And then Mike's sister has posted, and I think this is very interesting, help explain things. So let me read part of it. It's a very long post, and let me read part of it to you. You can go over to Missing Persons of America and you could read the full post. But she states that her boyfriend, Mike, is my brother, and he has been cleared, all right? She's referring to Laynee, okay? All these Facebook peeps have it all wrong about the day he left. Laynee wanted him to go to Alaska and make some money so that he could get a place together upon his return. Yes, they both have a drinking problem and would have arguments, the Safeway stuff and supposed stalking. But what they didn't tell you was that she was messaging him to come to her work. Now, Laynee worked at the Safeway. Anyways, that is neither here nor there. My point is that when they drank, they were obnoxious and drove us crazy with their arguments, but they're madly in love as well and have a lot of laughs together. So she goes on and says, we have provided the cops and her family anything and everything they've asked for. Basically, there's more that will be revealed involving a different individual today. But I don't want to disrupt this investigation by posting info on Facebook until it's all out in the open. All right. Now, Laynee's cousin states there's a video showing Mike boarding a plane, and he left to go to Alaska before the last time Laynee was seen. So he has been cleared. So he was on that plane at 3 o'clock, and she was seen again by video at 7. Then there you go. And additionally, I heard that the person with the white truck has also been cleared. And as with social, and this is coming from social media, so as you got to take it with a little grain of salt. It's not been substantiated at this point. All right, and let me go to the description of Laynee so you have that. Laynee is 5'9", 120 pounds, brown hair, hazel eyes, and her dog is named Precious. He's a rat terrier, is white with some black spots. Now, as I said before, the two were inseparable. So keep an eye out for the dog. They may be split up at this point. The dog might be one place and she might be the other. I heard that the shelters have been checked. They haven't come up with anything, but keep an eye out for this little dog. If he shows up on your property or something, make sure you call the police to let them know that you have the dog, or contact the family on Facebook. Now, there's been a lot of searches for Laynee by volunteers. The families come together. They're organizing this. They've been going to all kinds of different locations looking for her. If you would like to help, if you're in the area, I'll put a link in the comment section so you can go over there and volunteer and help them. I know they would certainly appreciate it. And the phone number. There's several phone numbers you can contact with different timelines and different hours to call. But I'm just going to give you the tip line, which is open 24 hours. So you can call that. And it's 360-299-1985. All right. And the case number, let me give you that too. 20-A06084. All right, let's keep an eye out for her. Let's keep an eye out for the dog. Let's help this family best we can. Hopefully me will begin to pick up this story and get it out even farther. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. See you soon.